I'm sure you all know who Charlie Kirk is. He's the founder of Turning Point USA, which he founded in 2012. He built the organization from nothing to now being on over 1,300 college campuses, along with 150 full-time employees. But I'm not here to criticize his accomplishments. I'm here to criticize him. Charlie is what's wrong with conservatism today. Have a look at his YouTube channel and you'll see videos like Charlie slams identity politics. Charlie exposes liberal hypocrisy. And my favorite, Charlie Kirk smashes socialism. I don't think anyone's told Charlie this, but you don't make your own Thug Life videos. People that admire what you're doing clip them together and upload them for you. How many Thug Life videos do you see on Daily Wire? None? The same is true of Jordan Peterson. You'll find a litany of Thug Life and clip video segments of Jordan arguing down people, but none of them are on his channel. They're all edited together by fans and people in support of his cause. But this isn't what bothers me, and it only weakly supports the main thesis of this video, which is that Charlie Kirk is the death of nuance for conservatism. When I watch Charlie's videos and interactions, I don't see someone trying to discern the truth of the perceived problem they've identified. I see an automaton with preset responses to certain stimuli, rehearsed to the point of disgust. And it gets even worse than this, because the points aren't restated or spoken with his own take on them, but often recited word for word from other prominent conservatives. Take a look at this clip of Ben Shapiro when he was a panel guest on AM 770 KTTH back in 2015. Viewed over 1 million times, with additional views coming from re-uploads and Thug Life edits. Pay close attention to what Ben says at the end of this clip.
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't... You know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? Quite the powerful line from Shapiro in that discussion. Keep the statistics in mind as well as we listen to this clip of Charlie from a few months ago.
If you look in the black community in the 1960s, single motherhood rate was 21%. Now single motherhood rate in the black community is 78%. What happened? Did America become more racist since the 1960s? No, we actually became significantly less racist since the 1960s. Our government welfare program subsidized single motherhood over the last 50, 60 years. We literally pay mothers to not get married, because as soon as they get married, they lose their welfare check. Some of it was reformed in the 1990s, but not enough of it. And we have completely broken urban areas with broken government-run public schools and a welfare structure that rewards bad choices.
See that? The exact same line. Did America become more racist since the 1960s? Almost word for word with Ben's statement. The statistics that Charlie cites are interesting, not because I hold them in dispute, but because Ben cited the single motherhood rate as well. But it's not just the statistics about single motherhood, it's his robotic restatement of points others have made. Worse than Marco Rubio in the primaries, if you remember that train wreck.
But I would add this, let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. Those are the facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign is so important.
Don't be a Marco Rubio, folks, and don't take other speakers' talking points without adding your own original thought and character to them. Here's Larry Elder talking about single motherhood and welfare, and I want you to pay close attention to how Larry states the statistics and positions he holds.
Fact is, in 1965, 25% of black kids were born outside of wedlock. The number now is 73%. And I didn't say this, Obama did. A kid raised out of dad is 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crimes, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Tupac Shakur, speaking of him, he said, I know for a fact, had I had a father, I would have been more disciplined, I would have had more confidence. I once interviewed a guy named Kwesi Mfume. He used to be the head of the NAACP. One of the few so-called black leaders I can get on my show. I've called Jesse 50 times, Al Sharpton 50 times, Maxine Waters 100 times, they won't come on. But Kwesi Mfume did come on. And I said, Mr. Mfume, as between the presence of white racism or the absence of black fathers? Which poses the bigger threat to the black community? Without missing a beat, he said the absence of black fathers.
See how Larry states his case and throws in anecdotes from history? He doesn't just cite the statistics. As you can tell, he's read the relevant literature and has made the talking points his own. Charlie talks about 50 to 60 years of subsidized single motherhood and provides analysis a first-year college student gives when they finish their essay 20 minutes before class. Here's Larry Elder from 2013 talking about the same policies. Again, listen to Elder's method of delivery.
What's that leave you? It leaves you 50 years of left-wing policies begun with the best of intentions when Lyndon Johnson launched the War on Poverty in 1965 and dispatched people to go door to door to advise women of their rights to welfare benefits, provided there was no man in the house. Within 3 years, welfare rolls increased 100%. And now we have this kind of pathology.
But this isn't the only instance of times Charlie's regurgitating talking points made by other talkers. And you'll notice that the same people are who he's getting his material from. Here's Ben Shapiro in another of his viral moments from college campus talks he's given.
So here are the 3 rules. You want to be rich in America? You want to do well in America? You want to put aside the whining about the system? Again, you point out to me an individual instance of racism, I will stand next to you and fight it. But if you want to whine about America, no good. Okay, here are the 3 rules that you need to fulfill as a person before you can start complaining about your life failures being the result of somebody else's actions. Number 1, you need to finish high school. Number 2, you need to get married before you have babies. Number 3, you need to get a job. That's it. You do those things, you will not be permanently poor in the United States of America.
Seems like good advice, right? But Ben wasn't the first conservative to use these talking points, although from their origin, Ben modified them slightly. If you dig around the internet a bit, you'll find Larry Elder citing 3 rules for success in America back in 2013. And he gives credit to James Q. Wilson for them, which you can read more about in Wilson's 2002 book, The Marriage Problem. But here's Larry's take on the 3 rules.
You know what works? James Q. Wilson from UCLA said it's very simple. In order to make it to the middle class, you have to do 3 things. Finish high school, don't have a kid before you're 20, and get married before you have that kid. If you do that, you won't be poor. If you fail to follow that, you will be.
Notice the nuance. Ben and Larry have a different rule number 3, which is great. Who wants to hear the same point restated over and over? It's the person with the original thought that gets to there first. There's a reason Ben and Larry get lots of views on YouTube. They say things other people haven't thought of yet. Here's Charlie responding to a question he was asked at a talk he gave recently. Listen closely to his answer.
I want you to acknowledge this, I don't know if you do or not, that like, for example, you asked why black people aren't, like, the reason why there's not as many black people in universities is because they're not applying. But then we have to see as like, why are they not applying? So I feel like they lack, like, minorities in this country lack a lot of resources. Like, it's definitely possible, like, we've seen it happen, like, I mean, that's why I'm here, right? But it's not as easy as it is for, like, you know, some white people. And I just want that, like, acknowledgement, because it seems as though it's like we're saying everybody starts off at the same pace and there's no...
I love your question. I'm really glad you're here. Can I ask you 3 quick questions? You graduated high school, right? Yes. You don't yet have a kid, I'm guessing? No. Okay. And do you have a job of some sort? I mean, I work here. Okay. So you, based on those 3 great choices, are nearly guaranteed to not live in poverty in America.
Did you catch that? He put a Socratic spin on it, so you might have missed it. But they were Ben Shapiro's same 3 rules posed as questions. How easy it is not to have to think, when your most difficult thought is who you want to recycle next. I've saved the best for last, however. I'm sure you're all familiar with Jordan Peterson. I mean, who isn't? He's the biggest public intellectual in the West right now. I had my disagreements with Jordan, but his cautions about ideology and ideological possession are something I think he's spot on with, which is why I bring this up now. Charlie sat down with Jordan for an hour and a half where he talked about Turning Point USA and those bloody neo-Marxists. Not only that, but he talked about something we've already covered earlier in the video, government welfare and single motherhood. Have a look.
We also have this additional problem is if the employment situation tanks in any serious way, then men become less desirable as partners. And your claim, I guess, in part is that by filling that void, the government actually contributes to the problem rather than addressing it.
That's exactly
right.
And
that's tied in, I suppose, too, with the high rates of incarceration for black people in the United States.
And then you have a negative feedback loop where you get more of that bad behavior. So the black fathers go to prison, so they're not there to raise the kids. The kids go to gangs, so they'll end up either dead, in prison, hopeless, or completely directionless. The black single mothers who want to continue to do what's right for the community, they're left with very few choices. Have more kids.
Right.
And so it's a negative feedback loop. So you have bad behavior reinforcing more bad behavior subsidized by the government. Then you have the complete destruction of what used to be a somewhat civilized portion of American life, which if you look at the worst areas in America, it's the inner cities.
predominantly with the African American community. And so, but the interesting point is, how on earth is it that black people today, their grandfathers lived a better life than their fathers? Is America more racist today than it was in the 1960s? Absolutely not.
The same Ben Shapiro line recycled again. And by the way, a negative feedback loop isn't bad behavior enforcing more bad behavior. Negative feedback loops act as a balancing mechanism for behavior that leads to overall stability. Don't let the word negative trick you, Charlie. But hey, if you want to watch Jordan Peterson videos on psychology and not read any of the relevant material, be my guest. And the talk they had is full of just that, from casual mentions of Carl Jung to lines taken directly from Jordan's own videos. If you ever wondered what a sycophant is, look no further than this interview talk. It's akin to when Theron Meyer talked with Jordan Peterson for a sit-down interview. She was always looking at him for approval for what she was saying, as she knew damn well that he was her intellectual superior and didn't want to venture his wrath lest she misspeak. That's the point of this video. Nuance dies when people are afraid to speak. And I don't mean just utter words when I say speak. Charlie is more than capable of saying words, but there isn't any content to them. Nothing Charlie says has developed beyond where he heard it from, and it leads to stagnation of his message and calcification of him as a person. He won't move beyond where he's at unless he dares say something he isn't sure of and risk being wrong. But that doesn't get people making thug-like videos now, does it, Charlie? I'll end with this, though. And Charlie, if you're watching, I hope you take great deliberation over this next clip, because the intention of this video isn't to thug-life you, but to try to strengthen you.
There was no helping someone like that when they were still ensconced inside that braying ideology. You could predict everything they were going to say. It's like someone had a crank. You could just crank it and out would come the proper ideological formulas. But then he realized that as soon as they, let's call it, repented of that and started to realize their own role in it or the error of the system, then he would start communicating with them